Well, I was coming out of a movie with my lovely wife last Sunday night late, and as I was walking out, I saw some people on a podium and red carpets and things like that. I said, my God, that looks a bit like the Academy Awards. Isn't that 2 weeks from now or something? No, it turns out it was just that very evening earlier on. It's awful easy to bash our moral superiors that live just over the hill in the Kodak Theater, which, as I've pointed out, and which you may or may not know, but you really, truly, honestly must see with your own eyes, is decorated with the winged bull of Babylon. No fooling, that's the architectural style that they have the Academy Awards in. Now, it was an interesting Academy Awards because they could not find anybody left-wing enough to host the Academy Awards, and so it was a hostless Academy Awards. Apparently, every single person on the planet at some point in the past has made an argument that somebody could find offensive, so why take chances? It was watched by very few people, which is very fewer people than watched it last time, and all of this stuff is just the same old thing. And especially remarkable this year was watching the race to the what is it when you, what's a great word for cannibalism? Is autophages or something when you eat yourself? We got to watch the spectacle of a movie about a black man who won the Best Supporting Actor award, being utterly trashed by the left because there was a white guy in it and it had a happy ending. So therefore, Green Book's win was an enormous step back for America and something that's going to have to be redressed in the next Academy Award, and I have no doubt it will be. And it will be watched by the people that are in the room. But why am I going to all this trouble to talk about what we already know? Well, I thought I would use this opportunity to speak about our reprehensible pop culture and take a look at what the actual future of the pop culture is, because anybody who watched the Academy Awards or even heard about them or even read an article about somebody who watched them knows that they're finished, that the entire thing is essentially over. There's a lot of technological reason why things are getting decentralized in Hollywood, but there's a couple things that I would like to talk about in terms of the future of entertainment as we know it, and it has nothing to do with rich people. It has nothing to do with famous people. It has nothing to do with red carpets. It has nothing to do with $300 million budgets. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. What you saw at the Academy Awards is IBM in 1963 having a farewell dinner for the guy who started in the mailroom and is retiring at 65, gotten his gold watch, and waiting for his heart attack at 67. So where are things going? Well, as it turns out, there's an interesting trend being set by somebody who seems to have synthesized all of these things together. And Steve, let's start with you. There's a director of traditional movies, kind of unusual movies, but basically feature films, named Neil Blomkamp. And he's a remarkable director. He did some very interesting movie called District 9. He's a big left-winger, but that's okay, doesn't matter. But he started something along with Unity, which is one of the 3 or 4 game engines that produce most of the graphics in computer games. And using the Unity engine, motion capture and so on, he started something called Oats Studio. And what they have done is they've made a series of science fiction shorts, each one about 4 or 5 minutes long. Some of them, like the one we're seeing clips from here, are 100% computer generated. It may not look like it. They go out into the world with cameras. They take 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pictures of an actual location. Computers stitch this information together. It's called photogrammetry. And basically what they do is they've created a set using the photographic materials, and what you're seeing here is in fact a computer-generated image of a real place. Some of it's completely animated, some of it is live action. They use Sigourney Weaver, Dakota Fanning with tremendous special effects. But here's where I'm going with it, Steve. Blomkamp said that he thinks that the work they're doing at Oats Studio is because the entire idea of movies, television, and games are coming together into a single format, and he is showing everybody what that format is. And my honest take is that this is what the future of entertainment is going to look like. Spectacular effects done on a micro budget and in very small bite sizes, released serially, so that if you want to watch a 2-hour movie, you binge watch 9 episodes of this. What do you think about this?
There's a lot to say about this. First, I have to admit that I have not watched the Oscars since 1982 when Gandhi beat E.T. for Best Picture. Okay, we're done. I
SOB.
was 13 years old, and I'm these awards are clearly horse crap, and I'm not going to watch. So I've been boycotting these things.
And they were played by the same actor, weren't they?
Ben Kingsley is very versatile.
That's not true. It is true, however, that the volleyball that was used in that played in the Top Gun sequence was the exact same volleyball actor that was used in Castaway.
Oh,
Really?
I had no idea. Interesting. And the other thing I want to say, I just wanted to give a shout out to Neil Blomkamp. Yeah, his first feature, which you mentioned, District 9, is some of the best science fiction I've ever seen. It does what science fiction is supposed to do, which is to take something futuristic and see how it impacts actual human beings
And the morality of situations, yes.
Yes, exactly. and it was a metaphor for apartheid. So
exactly right.
Really well done film. That one probably had to be done by a left winger. Since then, he's gone really off the deep end. What was the space communist movie he made with Matt Damon that was so awful?
Oh, yeah. That was terrible. Chappie was terrible. But let's put that aside because he seems to be on the main vein in terms of the format.
He really, really does. But I see kind of a bifurcation here going on, and both of them leave out Hollywood as we know it. The one you described, which is totally high tech, low budget, give you an idea how things have progressed so much just in the last 5 years. My iPad Pro gets a Geekbench score equal to my old 6-core Mac Pro workstation. That's just in 5 years of progress. And that line is just going to continue.
Steve means it's really, really fast is what he means by that.
That is exactly what I mean. So, a tablet, a quarter-inch thin tablet, replaces a huge fan-cooled workstation. It's just it's a miracle. And this is empowering directors to do completely high-tech things that you were just describing without the Hollywood money. And on the other end, you've got one of my favorite directors, Steven Soderbergh, who a few years ago got in a huge fight with whatever studio it was over whatever movie it was, and he kind of dropped out of the business until he realized that the iPhone in his pocket had a pretty decent video camera on it.
4K camera.
Yeah, and he made a movie called Unsane, which is maybe not his best effort, but it was a noble effort in that he shot this thing using natural light on his iPhone. And he was editing it in Final Cut at the wrap party.
I've done that many times, but not on purpose.
Yeah, but this is where that is going.
That's right.
You can make a feature film with your iPhone and your MacBook, and pretty soon you're not even going to need the MacBook. You're going to do it all on your phone or your tablet, and it's going to take hours instead of weeks. And the other end of it is going to be this high-tech micro-consumption thing that you were talking about. And as I said, in both cases, it doesn't leave a place for the major Hollywood studios, and they're going to be sitting on top of some of the most expensive real estate in the world with not a damn thing to do.
Precisely correct. And since this is a political show, we are now getting to the political point of all of this. Unfortunately, Scott's going to have to answer, but that's just the way the dice fell. Here's the thing, Scotty. What's happening in entertainment, and when I say entertainment, I mean top-level entertainment. YouTube has been doing user-generated content for 10 years now, but I'm talking about the big items that people want to see. What we're starting to see, I think, is pretty much exactly what we saw when we all got into this game 10 years ago with blogs and their relationship to newspapers. Basically, when the technology reached a certain level, it was possible to distribute Scrapple Face or Vodka Pundit or Eject around the world for free. And the playing field became infinitely big, infinitely flat, and was rewarding talent. Not in our cases, obviously, but in many cases. So this is what's happening. And I tell people now that using a motion capture suit, let me take a small, very important little sidestep here. The reason the computer graphics have reached the level now where they are becoming indistinguishable from real life is because they are capturing human emotions and human actions in real time at 60 frames a second. What we discovered, having tried to make things look more and more human, was that it's our imperfections that make us human, that computer-generated characters were too perfect. And we also became aware of the fact that there are tiny things called micro-expressions that we're completely unaware of. The slightest little crinkling of the wrinkles around our eyes, the capillaries flush around our eyes or around our lips when we make certain expressions or arch our eyebrows in an arch kind of way. And once these things have been able to be reproduced, you now have the ability to do what I've been saying is really going to be possible in 2 years. In the space behind me, I will be able to make Lawrence of Arabia, and you will not be able to tell that I did not go out and spend $500 million and shoot with thousands and thousands of extras in hundreds of locations over the course of 2 years. So the political point is, this technology is taking the gatekeeper's keys away, and it no longer means that you have to have $100 million to make something that people want to see. 10 grand will pretty much get you there.
Yeah, there's an old saying that we make technology and then technology makes us. And that's kind of what happens. But then it goes back in the other direction again. And what I mean by that is the reason why I got into blogging was because I read an article, believe it or not, in Time magazine, in a paper magazine that I held in my hands, about this blogging phenomenon. I thought, I wonder what in the world that is. And so I was interested in from a technical aspect of it, like, oh, an easy to use website. I don't have to code to know how to create that. So I went on and I loaded this website gizmo thing. And then I thought, well, I should write something here. What should I write? And the first thing I wrote was a fake news story, and that became scrappleface.com.
Awesome.
And then the rest of the journey of scrappleface.com or any of these blogs is really in an effort to minimize the technology so that you can tell the story. And I think that's, these early efforts like Steve's talking about with a director shooting a movie on a 4K iPhone. And the charm of that is he shot the movie on the 4K iPhone. Someday we won't give a flying rip. When it really comes into its own, it's when we don't notice that it was shot on a 4K iPhone with no professional lighting. It's that the technology which enables the storytelling can get out of the way and let the story be told in a way that kind of bypasses our natural filter for unbelievable things and accepts it. And this is a fascinating time we live in, and I don't think we're going in purely one direction. We certainly are experiencing the democratization of production, the opportunity when every political campaign has to know that the moment they release a political ad, within a couple of minutes to a couple of hours, a spoof version of that ad is going to be released that's going to be better than the original. And it will have greater impact than the original, and it will be shared more widely than the original because every person has in his or her hands the capacity to be a production studio. And literally anybody who has a smartphone can do these kind of things. So, that's happening, and people's attention spans, we think, are getting shorter. So we say, well, they're going to these 6-minute formats and making these, sci-fi thriller movies in 6 minutes. That's true. But also, we've got young people listening to 2- and 3-hour podcasts. We have another phenomenon that's going on, which it didn't occur to me until you guys were just talking about this. I now do something which only people who had a stroke and couldn't get out of their chair used to do, and I like it. I listen to books on tape, so to speak. You used to contact the library and they would send you this special machine and you could listen to books on tape, and it would have to sit, next to your old lazy boy recliner. And now,
next to your iron lung.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And so, but now my phone or my Kindle device can actually play through a Bluetooth headset, and I just downloaded another book that I can listen to while I drive back and forth to work. So all of these technology things are happening, but the net effect of them isn't for us to make sweeping statements and say, look, all movies in the future will be 6 minutes long and they'll all involve special effects, and not necessarily so. I think what it does is it gives everyone a choice, not only as an audience member, but also as a producer of content. And I think that anything that allows more people to tell stories and more people to be able to access them at low cost, or in some cases no cost, is good for fostering a conversation that draws people closer to each other.
I could do an hour on this, but I'll try to keep this just as brief as possible. Politics is downstream of culture, as our friend Andrew Breitbart said. People do not vote on what they think, they vote on how they feel. How they feel is determined by the pop culture, and the pop culture is not just some little battlefield out in the middle of nowhere. It is the entire ocean in which we all swim. When you go to see any kind of entertainment, whether it's a 2-minute video on YouTube or a 4-hour movie in a movie theater, you are being hypnotized. You are in a hypnotic state. You have lowered your conscious ability to sort fact from fiction, and for a few hours you believe that you are in a dungeon, in a castle, in Transylvania, and that there is an immortal, blood-drinking, magical creature, and when that guy comes out of the shadows, you leap out of your skin, because you're being hypnotized. And I can prove you're being hypnotized. Here's an example. I'm going to start a sentence, and everybody watching the show can finish it for me. Ready? Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
And everybody knows it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman, because you were hypnotized into that, and everything that came in with that, all the values of Superman, all the values of It's a Wonderful Life, came into your head. So the reason this is important is twofold. First of all, it's open source. And what that means is it means that instead of the tired, hackneyed, old, we're going to remake this for the 5th time, oh, look, a feature film version of I Dream of Jeannie, except this time the astronaut is a gay woman. Okay, those days are gone. The iPhone is a brilliant device only because they made it possible for millions and millions of people to put their creative energies into the apps that make the iPhone worth having. So open source is a very, very big deal. But the most important thing is the fact that it is democratic. It means that as all of our society goes from industrial era into information era, goes from top-down structured to completely unstructured network, it means that there are no longer people holding the keys to determine what everybody in the country sees and hears. We saw this with blogs and the news about 10, 20 years ago. We no longer are dependent on what millionaires in New York skyscrapers think we should see because they're the president of CBS. We now have the means of regular people producing actual news, and that's why Donald Trump is president. As actual people become capable of producing not just, hey, look at me, I'm going to do a trick shot at my pool as I dunk a basketball, as they have the means to produce the kind of entertainment that people want to see, it doesn't mean that we suddenly get a conservative pop culture, but it does mean that we get a pop culture where conservatives are not locked out of the doors by that winged bull, Babylonian gold statue worshipping cesspit of evil. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than you will find over the wall in back of me there in Hollywood, and it couldn't come a moment too soon. The ability to recover our own mythology is the ability to recover this country. And people like Blomkamp and a bunch of others are on the way, and it's something we should all be very, very happy about. For Steve Green and Scott Ott, I'm Bill Whittle. This is made possible by the paying members at BillWhittle.com, who are the new producers, citizen producers of the era of democratic content that is allowed us to stay alive as a republic. So thank those people very much, and we will see you next week on Right Angle.